Welcome back to another video for Busy Lady Life. Today is a recipe for Oklahoma Joe smoked baked beans. Oklahoma Joe is a brand of a smoker and grill company. They may even have a restaurant themselves. I know there's a lot of recipes out there for Oklahoma Joes. I've seen meat smoked, beans smoked. I've seen different things with Oklahoma Joe, but this is the baked beans. Smoking really represents your food. Whatever wood that you're smoking will influence and enhance your meat product. And it's usually done at a low temperature and for a long time to bring that flavor in. We're using the apple smoking chips today, the smaller ones. You can do the larger chunks. You need to soak it. The length of time that you smoke your chips or wood will be helpful in the smoking process for your meat. I'm setting this for overnight. You don't want your meat to have a burnt wood taste. You want it to have the wood flavor coming through the meat. So apple wood is an example too. I wouldn't want burnt apple. So the longer you soak it, the better it is to make sure that you have that non-burnt taste in your meat. Here I'm preparing my marinade for my brisket. I'm making a beef brisket. I'm also smoking some chicken tenderloins for my chopped salad in another recipe. Something to do also, just to add with smoking, when you're adding flavor to your smoked water that you put in there, you can use apple cider vinegar. I also use apple juice. You can use pineapple juice. You can mix it up into the water that humidifies in the smokers to give your meat more flavor too. But back to the marinade. So I'm dissolving 3 beef bouillons, and that is my base for my marinade, to about 3 cups of water. You can see how the bouillon is dissolving. I'm going to add to that marinade. I'm going to add some garlic powder. I'm going to add some onion powder. I will add soy sauce. I will add Worcestershire. I don't know how to say it and never get it right. And a little bit of sriracha. I'll put the defined amounts in the description below to give you the exact. But here I'm adding them all in. The important thing is to kind of stay true and let it dissolve, because I'm using an injection needle to put that into the meat, and if it's too clumpy with things, I'm not going to be able to get that into the meat. And one thing, as you notice through this, I did not add any salt here. I'm using soy sauce. I have bouillon. Those are 2 salty, and the Worcestershire, the very salty products. Salt is not needed here to add on to this. It's perfectly fine where it's at. So just an FYI, you don't need to do that. Now I do put a lot of flavor in here, so I do add pepper as well. So here I've got my marinade ready to go, and this is what I'm going to be injecting my brisket, which was not very easy trying to do this one-handed. Really got to get myself, I have a tripod, I just got to get myself coordinated with it. Not comfortable, but we'll get there. So getting that all combined, getting ready to put that in the meat. And then I let it sit overnight to marinate thoroughly. And then for the chicken tenderloins that I used for the chopped salad, I just kind of let it sit in there. So I'm getting ready to inject this in. Now, the reason why with the beef brisket, you're going to want to put an injected marinade in there is because that's a tough muscle of the cow. So, I mean, it has natural flavor, but to give it a little bit more, just go ahead and put some marinade in there. Now, like you see, I'm really struggling to kind of get that in, so some of it kind of squirts all over, but it'll give it more moisture and definitely some more flavor. So just go ahead, poke all over, do your best to try to get as much of that marinade in. I probably got maybe half cup in there. This is only a 3 pound, it squirts out, 3 pound beef brisket. It wasn't a large one. I was doing this for a party the next day, so I didn't want something that was going to be a long time to smoke. It smoked for about 2.5 hours. We smoked it at 225. So, you know, the smaller the meat, the less hours of smoking. So you have to look into that and see what your ratios are. But it was a really nice addition to these baked beans. Same thing with the chicken.
Sure.
You could always use pulled pork too. I mean, you can use anything that you want to smoke and just add it in there. Just to whatever your liking is. Here it is with the chicken. I just kind of put the tenderloins and just put the marinade in. Put it in a little Tupperware container and let it sit overnight. And then the next day, I'm preparing my rub. I love this Myron Mixon hickory salt. It's like my favorite thing. I'm almost out. And then I always use Pelkins. It's a place in Crivets, Wisconsin. I like their seasoning, and that particular one, Memphis, is very similar to almost like a Sweet Baby Ray's flavor. So we enjoy using that rub. I also put a Texas style in here, and I love the smoked paprika. So here I am applying all of these rubs on. Now, one thing that you may have not seen in this part, but you may see a little later, is I apply mustard. Don't matter what kind of mustard that you have, as like a binding agent to my rub. And then I'll put the garlic, onion powder. I mean, I probably did this more reverse, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And then I layer the flavors on. So I usually typically do first mustard, then onion, garlic, pepper or powder, and then I put on my rubs. I'll usually use the smoked paprika and then whatever flavor rubs I'm doing to be on top. So that's my layers of flavor that I like to do. So here you're going to see me put that mustard on and then combining the layers of flavor. Chicken was a little bit different that I was using. They're smaller pieces, so I couldn't put as much rub on them. So you'd see that in another video when I did the chopped salad. I didn't want my salad to have too much of a barbecue flavor. I just wanted to enhance the flavor of it, but regardless. So here I am again, like this is my usual process. Start with the base of the mustard, put the powders on, then start moving into my smoked flavors.
Should go the opposite direction. The dominant hand.
And this is all to prepare the meat before it goes right in the smoker. I'm not going to show you any pictures of it going into the smoker or coming out of the smoker. I can do that at another time. I have a few other smoking videos on this channel. I made a smoked meatloaf. I've done smoked pork tenderloin. I really enjoy my smoker. I like the flavor. One of these times I want to do a smoked salmon because I have an awesome smoked fish dip recipe that is to die for. So I got to do a video on that one time. To do. So again, going into showing you that one's my favorite. That's one our family's favorite, just because it's so close to like
We're gonna have to go back up and send your parents.
Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce.
See if they can ship
Who
it.
doesn't really love Sweet Baby Ray's? I even tried to adapt in this recipe because you're going to put barbecue sauce in this recipe. I've tried to make my own. I garden and I have a lot of tomatoes, so I made my own barbecue sauce. I made my own ketchup this year because I have an overabundance of tomatoes, so I'll be incorporating that in this recipe. So here you go. You're taking your beans. Now you're getting all of that ready. You're using 2 16-ounce cans of kidney beans. You could use dark, you could use red. I mean, you know, if you want a nice color palette for your beans, go for it. I just used the dark red ones, and then I rinsed them, and then I used 2 cans of 16-ounce black beans as well, rinsed. So since this is going to be smoked, I got the, I think there's like 9 by, maybe 8 by 13, or I don't know. They're square almost sized foil pans. You're gonna double up on them. Trust me. The weight of the beans, you're gonna want to. So then I divide them up into each. Actually, I think at first I pulled out one big large pan and just did all my preparation and combining in that, and then I went back and put them into the 2 foil pans just because it was easier to get the nice mixture throughout all of them rather than having to do it separately in 2 different pans. So here I'm rinsing off all of the juice or canned product, whatever, from the beans. I even bought some baked beans with a little bit of bacon in there. It doesn't matter, you're going to be rinsing all of this off anyhow. You need a 1/16 ounce, so you need a really big can of the baked beans because that's the majority of what this recipe holds is the baked beans. Again, rinsed them all, tossed them in here. So see, it's really nice color variation. If you decided that you wanted to do light green or light kidney beans and dark, it's just another color variation. So toss those all together, and then you're going to start adding into your other products. I use thick sliced bacon. You could use any type of flavored bacon if you'd like, but the thicker, the more meatier it is and taste wise for the beans. I used 1 yellow bell pepper, diced, 1 red bell pepper, diced, 1 large red onion, chopped. You'll see that in a minute. And then for another flavor elevation, it calls for serrano peppers, just 1. I like it spicy. I put 2. Personally, after I tasted it, I think it was perfect for my family, but this is for a large family get together. If I were to do it for my immediate family, I'd probably put that extra serrano in there because I like a little bit more heat, but it was a really nice combination of savory, sweet, and spicy. So here I'm putting all of those vegetables and beans together and adding that in, getting it well combined. And then I'm going to start adding in all of the other items. Here goes the bacon. The last thing I added was the beef brisket because that was actually in the smoker. And the recipe says if you have, because you're going to put this in the smoker for 30 minutes to an hour. If you have beef brisket drippings or chicken drippings, that just adds more flavor to your beans. So you'll see no meat going into this until the very end. And that would be why. Still trying to get it all combined because again, I'm going to split this up into 2. So I wanted to make sure the portions will have equal amounts of the peppers and onions. So here I'm going in with those serranos. Chop them very fine. Again, just for those other people that, are not so comfortable with really spicy food. I didn't want to give them a big chunk of a spicy pepper to make their fork full of beans not a pleasant experience. Alrighty, now we're going to get ready to start combining the sauces that go with this. So you use a full big bag of brown sugar. Now if you're doing keto, which I do a lot of keto recipes, I'm just going to tell you the things to substitute in here. This recipe I did not. Again, I'm cooking for family members. Sometimes they're open for it, sometimes they're not. There is a Trulia keto brown sugar that you could substitute. So just an FYI if you want to keep it keto. And even though these beans really aren't keto, it's a protein. Sometimes you can have a portion of them. So full bag of brown sugar in here. It looks very dry right now, but amazingly it just gets absorbed very easily. The secret is bourbon. So this is Red Stag by Jim Beam. It's got, I guess, a dark cherry flavor in here, so I wanted to add a little something. Half cup of that goes into your recipe. That's all. Then I gave it to my son. Not into bourbon, whiskey, or anything of that nature. I'm a wine kind of gal. Or a seltzer. So here I'm making sure that I got that brown sugar and the bourbon all mixed in just to kind of dissolve the brown sugar. And then I'll start throwing in the rest of the dry ingredients. Oh, I stand there correctly. I put the mustard in. So half cup of mustard. You can use any mustard. That was honey mustard, but honestly, I think, it had some yellow mustard in there. Here's my homemade ketchup that I have. You're going to use a 1/4 cup of ketchup. I'm not the best with measurement. I kind of just eyeball things that will look good. And then I used a full jar of my barbecue sauce that I made. So I would say that's probably almost 2 to 3 cups of barbecue sauce, if I were to equate it to something in a measurement form. Then I start getting this mixed up. I add a little Tabasco for some flavor, maybe about 2 tablespoons. Some garlic powder, some onion powder. Like I said, I'll put the exact measurements in the description just to help anybody that wants the actual specific recipe. But most of the time, I just eyeball it. And then you kind of taste as you go. Again, I love that Mix and Myron hickory salt. Oh, it's just so good. I have to order some more, I still do. And I'll put in some of that smoked paprika. Now, mind you, some of these things you can substitute and not use. I mean, if you want to use regular paprika, go ahead, use the regular paprika. And here's the end product. You smoke this in your smoker for 30 minutes to an hour. No longer than that, because then your beans will start to get mushy. And the idea is not to have mushy beans, it's to have very flavorful smoked beans. Hope you enjoy this recipe and try it yourself. Thank you.